Laura, do they listen to the Flintstones in the Middle East?
Listen to or watch?
Watch. Laura?
Yes.
Do they watch the Flintstones in the Middle East?
I don't know. Do they?
Dubai don't, but Abu Dhabi do.
This is so bad.
That's where my head went as soon as we started filming, because recording. Oh my god! Because I wanted to ask you about Dubai. How was Dubai?
Dubai was great, thank you. Had a lovely, lovely time. Really did. It was such a whirlwind. Went to the most magical wedding ever.
It looked magical.
It was ridiculous. So I'm super grateful that we got to go and celebrate that. And congratulations to the wonderful couple. And for all my worry about the visa to travel with the medication, nobody checked. It was absolutely fine. But still get it, right? Everyone needs to get it. So it was actually really straightforward, she says. Obviously, big help me. It was a form you go on. It's like the Dubai consulate or something, and it's a medication visa that you apply for. And it just asks like for proof of things. So I think I had to have a couple of letters from the doctor and a prescription leaflet or something that I had to take photographs of. You upload it and then they send the visa back to you in email form. But I guess perhaps it was probably on my passport or something when they scanned it.
It will have been. Yeah. So I guess if you'd gone through and someone had picked these out in customs, and then like, what's this? You'd be able to say, well, I have a visa.
Yeah, so I printed it out anyway and I had it on me just for peace of mind. But yeah, nobody asked and it was totally fine and had a lovely old time.
Yay. They had one of those like crazy video camera things that you see on the red carpet.
Yeah, it was great. That was the bling bling party. There were 4 different parties at this wedding over 2 days. It was literally incredible. Yeah,
it looked amazing. You looked amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I had a really lovely time.
Looked great, and you deserved it.
Thank you. I feel good for it. I feel really good for it. So yeah, it was wonderful.
Yay.
Thank you. And such a whirlwind, because it was literally like Saturday was the first show, then we had to cram a load of work in between, and then Thursday morning I flew out. So it's like one Saturday performing, next Saturday in Dubai, and now this Saturday sat in front of the TV in my PJs. Back to normal.
Variety is the spice of life.
Well, exactly. So we don't really need to do too much to introduce this wonderful guest, because I get so overexcited, enthusiastic. I do it in the beginning of the episode.
It's all there.
But you probably would have already heard of our amazing guest, Louise. And if you haven't, then you're in for a treat. Well, if you have or you haven't, you're in for a treat.
Yeah.
But yeah, have a listen.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF, ADHD as females, the podcast.
Hi, I'm Dawn.
Hi, I'm Laura, and we are ADHD AF. Seriously. We are 2 neurodivergent neighbours who moved to the same street at the same time, at the same age, with the same undiagnosed disability. What are the chances?
Since discovering the enormous impact ADHD has had on our lives and the horrifying numbers of missing undiagnosed females, it has become our mission to make some serious noise.
We want to use our voices to raise awareness, break the stigma, and share our experiences in the hope that they help others.
So join us for a chat, or as it's called up here in Aberdeen, a blether.
Trigger warning, we will be covering some really sensitive topics, so please do have a read of the description of each episode before listening.
It's important to note that we are not medical professionals, we're not therapists or coaches, we're not qualified to offer advice or support. What we will do is share our experiences alongside resources and information from professionals. We will talk over each other and we will go off topic and forget the point mid-sentence.
We are both assigned female at birth, which means that we can only speak from the experience of life as AFAB people. However, ADHD AF is an inclusive space. Whatever your gender, you are very welcome here.
Yes, you are.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF.
We are so excited to be joined this evening by the wonderful Louise of L.O.M. you will likely have seen her incredible creations all over the internet, in every festival field going, but for such a long time. And we are so excited to have this incredible creative with us. Thank you, Louise. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, hi. Thanks so much for asking me to come on.
Not at all. Thank you so much for giving us your time. And it's lovely, lovely, lovely to see your face. So I actually know Louise from a really long time ago, because we both were trading in the Secret Emporium at Secret Garden Party Wilderness Festival. And I was trying to think when that was. I think, is it like 2013 or something like that?
I hadn't started L.O.M by that point. I think maybe 2015.
There you go. It's been a while. It's been a while. And
What is time?
What is time? And the last time I saw Louise, it was 3:00 in the morning at Secret Garden Party last year. Did you have a nice time?
I can't remember.
That means yeah, right?
Yeah.
So, Louise, I saw on your social media. In fact, actually, I'm going to tell you a story which is even weirder. I've actually been stalking you for even longer than that, because I went to uni in Brighton and I remember seeing in the paper like your Oh My Honey stuff. That was you, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the brand that I had before I started L.O.M. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. A talent of all talents. So, Louise, tell us about yourself and what you do and all of that business.
I mean, that was a pretty great introduction. Thanks.
Whenever anybody introduces us, we're like, are they talking about somebody else?
Very complimentary, thank you. Well, yeah, like you said, my name is Louise O'Mahony and I have the brand L.O.M, which is obviously just my initials. I'm 37 years old and yeah, I'm a fashion designer and a print designer, and I've been running my own businesses for about 15 years, L.O.M for 7, and as you just mentioned, Oh My Honey was the one before that. Yeah. I split my time between Brighton and Berlin. My studio, my employees are all based in Brighton, but I like to spend as much time as possible as I can in Berlin, and I just love traveling in general, so hard to pin down.
Yeah.
Amazing. Berlin's a wonderful city.
I've never been yet. I still haven't been.
I love it. I've been once. I went once with my old flatmate Stu, and yeah, we had the best time.
A lot of people go once and just stay.
Yeah.
I can understand why.
But what I love the most is that Louise is just like completely boycotting Berghain with all these bright colours, whilst everyone else is standing outside looking grumpy and cool in black. It's just the best.
I've never gone wearing black and I've never had a no. So it's something in there.
Amazing.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, isn't it? We've talked in the past on the podcast about the creativity myth, this idea that a lot of us relate to, ADHDers or being neurodivergent and sort of put the creativity hand in hand, but it isn't a given because we are all different. But it is funny when you do look at that kind of stereotypical idea of us being creatives and just these splashes of color, even in our community, it's like, how many people have bright pink hair or are wearing bright colors? And then when you start to learn about it and the dopamine deficiency, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's become a lot clearer to me recently.
Yeah, so I guess let's start by diving into the whole ADHD thing and the connection that you have there. So you're not diagnosed as yet, is that correct?
Not officially, no. I'm diagnosed by a mental health practitioner, but not by...
You don't have the full medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
And when and how did that come about?
Yeah.
That was actually just last summer. So I've kind of always thought there was something there that I thought might be ADHD, but
Did you?
Yeah, I did. And I remember boys in school getting diagnosed with it, and I was thinking a lot of the things that they're saying about them are things that I feel, but I really genuinely thought it was only little naughty boys that got it.
Yeah, us too.
But however, throughout high school and college and everything, it kept kind of popping up that I thought this was something that maybe was a thing. But every time I ever mentioned it to anyone, like a friend or anything, people would be like, no, you don't have it. And I kind of all just kind of put it to the back and was just like, I'm just weird and annoying then. That's what it is. However, I'm 37 now and I run my own business, and this last summer I really kind of started to feel like I could relate to a lot of the symptoms that are coming up time and time again when I'm seeing things on the internet or hearing people talk about it. And for a while I was like, does ADHD exist? Because I have all these things, everyone has all these things.
Yeah.
So is it a thing? And then this summer, it really got to the point, it really got to the point where I was starting to feel like I was dropping all of these plates that I was spinning, and started to kind of not be able to keep up with all of the things that I do, and thought, I think it's time that I speak to someone about this. So
And do you think the increased awareness, do you think that had you kind of realizing that, hold on a minute, this is me, I keep hearing more
stuff that
more
you've seen
things
online, or like
yeah, definitely. I mean, I was definitely seeing more and more stuff, and the algorithm does what the algorithm does, and once you start kind of, you know, hovering on one picture too long, it'll start showing you more and more. And I was still kind of in the headspace of like, well, is it a thing? Because I have all of these things. Everyone has all of these things. But then I kind of started to realize, I was like, well, but I have them all the time, every day. And they're a massive hindrance to my life. And of course, everyone procrastinates and, you know, forgets things and all the rest of it. But when you realize that it's massively affecting all parts of your life.
The frequency and the impact. It's quite interesting that you say that at that age you started to, you know, drop the plates, because that's exactly the age that started happening for me as well. And like at the time I was a bit like, well, maybe there's only so long that you can keep the mask up, like maybe that's what it is. And then on the other hand, it could be suggested that also it's a hormonal thing. You know, that the different hormones as we get older exacerbate the symptoms.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've considered.
So then from that point, what happened? So you started to drop the plates, you started to think this could be a thing, and then did you start to seek any kind of help?
Yeah, I called my doctors, and I have to say initially they were very helpful. I called up my GP and said, you know, I'd like to make an appointment, and it's a mental health issue, and they were immediately super helpful. They were like, do you need someone immediately? Like, is everything okay? And I was like, yeah, actually it's fine. It's not an immediate problem, but I'd like to speak to someone about like something to do with mental health. So they said, okay, we're going to get the mental health practitioner to call you in a couple of days. We're going to give you like a time appointment. And then that happened, and I spoke to her on the phone, and I didn't initially mention ADHD, but I kind of spoke about what was happening, and she actually mentioned it first, and I didn't want to say it because I didn't kind of want to put the words in her mouth. I wanted to hear it from someone else just like saying, I think I've got this. And when she said that was a massive relief, and I kind of was like, I wondered if it could be this, but like maybe not. And she's like, I think you should come in and we should do this face to face. So a couple of weeks later, I went in and had an appointment with her, and I spoke a lot about my lifestyle and what I do and my job and my work and everything. And then she did the form with me, and at the end, she was very much like, "Yeah, you're right up there. Yeah, you're right up there.
you're ADHD AF."
Yeah, exactly. And that was upsetting and overwhelming. And I remember crying in the room with her, and she was amazing. She was really, really helpful, and she really made me see that it could be a positive thing. Like in that little moment, she was like, what you've told me about your life and all of this stuff that you've done and the amount of things that you've done, you know, I feel like you might not have been able to do this without this.
Yeah.
Do you know,
I was like, okay, I feel like you're just being nice, because it was very obviously an overwhelming moment. Yeah, but then obviously, you know, she explained, you know, it's in Brighton, it's a 2 to 3 year wait, which was also a lot to kind of take in that moment. I'd heard that it was, but to have someone tell you, oh yeah, okay, so yeah, we're pretty certain
we can help you, but we can't help you now.
Yeah,
really difficult to hear that, because you think like you're reaching out for help, and you want the help, and you need the help at that moment. And
to get to that point, you need help now.
You've gotten to that point, exactly, and you're finally at the point where it's just like, right, I'm ready to get help and start making changes. And it's like, actually, do you want to wait a couple of years? Just put life on pause for a while, and we'll come back to you. That's a hard pill to swallow.
It really is. Pardon the pun.
Yeah, exactly. So where are you up to now?
Well, there was a bit of a curveball, because so this had all happened. She was like, yes, we think you have ADHD. We're going to refer you. And then I kind of just was like, right, okay, I know it's going to be a long wait. Went back to life. And it was at a time where I was really, really struggling. I was finding things very, very difficult. And
in terms of like overwhelm, depression, anxiety, what was it that was really...
Overwhelm, for sure. Overwhelm. It's like I know what anxiety and depression feel like, and I've been diagnosed with that a speckling of times throughout my life, and I'm aware that most of the time, actually now I'm aware most of the time it's actually overwhelm, not either of those things. Just so much. I think for me what happened is my business, obviously I sell festival clothing, and there was a pandemic,
of course,
so my markets were gone globally, and I had an opportunity to potentially just take a break and pick things up when it came off, but I knew that I would not be able to sit still for any amount of time. And so I kind of flipped my business around and somehow managed to make it double its turnover and double our staff during the pandemic, because we went into loungewear and things like that.
Well done.
And then when we started coming out of the pandemic, I had more staff and more customers, double the amount that we'd had before. And then also I have a very, very active social life as well. And I started getting back into that and doing that as well as all of the work. And it just became like so much and so many things. I really started to be like, this is way too much. And then we also started going into recession again, just at the point of when things started to be looking good again. And all that was far too much for me to manage, which is why I went for help. But it got to the point where I was like, I need this to be faster and maybe I'll try and go private. So I was saving up for a deposit on a house, and I was going to use some of that. And I also was going to ask my parents for some help. Yeah. So I went back to the doctors to ask for my paperwork that I could use to bring to whoever I might go to see to make this faster. Yeah. And I read it, obviously. And I saw that there were 4 boxes, and one box was for ADHD, one box was for autism, and there were 2 other boxes for something else that I can't remember. But the box for ADHD hadn't been ticked, but the box for autism had been ticked. So I was being referred for autism and not ADHD, which was a massive head fuck because no one even mentioned the word autism to me. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I don't have autism, but I'm pretty certain I've got ADHD and I'm not being referred for that.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah. I went back to the doctors. Luckily, it was really close to the studio. I was in work that day. So back around there and I went back to the receptionist and I was like, hi, you've just given me this and it says that I'm being referred for autism, not ADHD. And she was like, oh, well, I guess that's what the mental health practitioner thought that you should be referred for. And I was like, no, I don't. I mean, if it is, it's kind of fucked that no one said anything to me.
Yeah. That's news to me.
Because it was honestly one of the most stressful weeks I'd ever had. And all of a sudden I was like, wait, do I have autism? And I haven't been told this, but I do need to be referred for ADHD because that's what I think I have. Yes. And yeah, I kind of was like, in the reception, then they went and got someone else to come in and she came through and it was a doctor and she was like, yeah, it must be what she thought you were being referred to. I was like, but it wasn't mentioned at all in any of them, like in the meeting. So I'm just really confused right now. And then another person came in, they actually managed to speak to the original person and it turns out she just ticked the wrong box.
Fuck's sake. I mean, it's just your entire life that they're playing with.
I know. Yeah.
It's one of those,
my Lord. Does that mean that you're further back?
Well, this is what I asked them. I was like, so what does this mean now? And they're like, it's okay, we're gonna change it, we're gonna redo your paperwork, we're gonna we've referred you now for ADHD. And I'm sitting there like clutching this paper with like tears in my eyes. And I said, but what does that mean for my wait time? Because it's already been 6 months.
Oh, bless you.
And they were like, we're really sorry, but it means that you are back at the beginning of the list. And I was like,
motherfuckers.
I was like, what? I was like, but I waited for 6 months. So I'm literally back at square one. And they were like, yeah, we're really sorry. It literally is like a computer thing. Like we can't just like change the date at which you've been referred because that's now today.
And if you hadn't picked up on that.
Yeah, if I hadn't have gone in to ask for the paperwork because I was thinking about trying to go private, I would still be on the wait list for being referred for autism right now. Like I wouldn't have known. They wouldn't have known. I would have been, 2 years down the line, if I waited, I would have been sent to an appointment because they also told me it's not even in the same building. It's not the same doctors. Like I would have gone for this appointment. They would have been like, oh, this is incorrect. However, because I was there and I was literally just clutching this paper, looking like I was about to burst into tears or flames. One of the women looked at me and she was like, okay, you are back at the start of the list. However, if you ask for us to put you on the waitlist for Psychiatry UK, that's only 6 months. So you have to say yes. And I was just sat there just like, what? And she was like, we're not allowed to do this automatically, but if you request to be put on the Psychiatry UK waitlist, then we can do that. You just have to agree. And I was like, okay, I agree. Like, okay.
So that's
then they put me onto that list instead. And then I got a call a few weeks later to say that I'm registered in their system and it'll be about 6 months till I have an appointment. But I think I only got put onto that list because I was not in a great place. They could clearly see that. And that whole experience was about to be the straw that broke the camel's back.
I mean, I know human error happens.
Yeah, I mean, nobody did that on purpose, but Jesus
just
Christ.
Tick the right box, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, I mean, like in the end, it ended up working in my favor because I'm now on the shorter list. Yeah. But yeah, when I heard that, I was
Like England, obviously, they have the right to choose,
And
which
here's-
means if you go into your practice and ask to be
By.
assessed by whoever through right to choose, they will do that. But I just think it's hilarious that you have to ask for it. So you have to be in the
it's a
know.
secret club.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really strange because so Hannah Walker Brown, who we interviewed, she said that when she said that to her GP, the GP seemed annoyed that she knew the top
knew.
secret code.
Hmm.
Bizarre.
It is bizarre. It's
Utterly bizarre.
very bizarre.
Yeah.
So how long have you been on that list? Is that just new that this has happened, or
That was just before Christmas. So I think it was like 3 months now.
Yeah.
oh well.
How do you feel in the interim? Like, has it made a difference to how you feel? Has it made a difference to the overwhelm?
It's made a huge difference. Like the validation of realizing that you're not alone and you're not stupid
Yeah.
has been massive. I mean, like it's a journey, and obviously I'm only at the start of mine. Initially I found it really upsetting. I was like, I've got a mental disorder, okay, and that was just, you know, negative terms like used against myself, but started to kind of really realize. And the woman, even though she ticked the wrong box, she was really helpful, and, you know, really did make me start it in a positive journey of like, I have had a really amazing life, and I do think a lot of that is down to the fact that I have ADHD. And so processing it was initially difficult because it's a lot to take on to realize. But then once you kind of start thinking about your life and the positives that have been affected by this, I kind of started to feel a bit more comfortable with it.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I think, you know, like, because I always say, I don't like it when people give ADHD their attributes that are very much theirs. And so when people say the positive side to ADHD is my creativity, I'm always like, don't give it your creativity.
Yeah.
So much from you. That one's yours. That's yours to own. That doesn't belong to ADHD. But what I do see, especially in terms of the, for want of a better word, intensity at which you live your life, is definitely something that I relate to. And what happened for me back then was I was living in Ibiza, living a very similar lifestyle to yours, and just taking on more and more and more and spinning so many plates. And it kind of got to a place where the intensity actually got a bit too much. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, but for that period of time, not that it got too much, but that was the overwhelm. It's like I was living in this constantly heightened state where I was either excited or nervous or anxious, and it just existing at that level for like years and years and years, and then just sort of feeling a bit queasy all the time. But like you say, the things that did do, and this need, like this sensory need to be excited and to
have
be
this
on the
constant
move and to be
stimulation.
stimulated. Yeah.
Constant stimulation. Yeah.
It's such an amazing and such a positive thing. And
Exactly.
it's really to think of you, you know, how it always is from the outside looking in, like your business is phenomenal. Like I remember you did a post once and you were at Coachella and somebody said, that girl's wearing L.O.M, and you're like, I am L.O.M.
Yeah, that was like a year in too. That felt very good. That was the first like, oh
That
shit,
must
I
have
made it.
felt incredible. Yeah.
It's funny to even think of you as struggling because you're doing so well. And you're doing these amazing things. But yeah.
But that's exactly it. It's so easy to look at someone from the outside and see just a snippet, the highlights essentially of their life, and think they're not struggling.
How much hard work, how much travel, how many plates to spin that actually
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I split my life and my friendship groups and everything between like 2 countries, and no one apart from me really knows the amount of stuff that I do and the amount of mad experiences that I've had. And what you were saying before about like, don't give ADHD your creativity. I do think that my creativity is me and it's not anything to do with ADHD. However, managing to make a business and crazy lifestyle happen is because of ADHD, and managing to make the business work and managing to do all of the things like one person would really struggle with. They would need 3 people to do the amount of stuff it can take sometimes to like make a creative business work. I will give ADHD credit for that.
100%. But that's what I mean as well. But like all the experiences as well. Like for some, I'm speaking from personal experience. I always want to be careful that I'm not like saying something bad, but like for some, that would be enough. For some, one city is enough. For some, one festival a year is enough.
Mm-mm.
Do you know what I mean? One hair colour is enough.
I dyed my hair a week ago and I went to 7 festivals last year.
For some of us that have this kind of too muchness intensity, it isn't enough. And that leads to great things because it means you do all the things.
And that's it. It's like the ADHD gives you the impulsivity and the risk taking.
Yeah, the bravery.
And the bravery to do things that you may otherwise not do.
And the very long days if you're not a sleeper.
and I think one of the things is the impulsivity will make you do things and take risks without thinking of the consequences. And so sometimes, well, most of the time, you're left dealing with the consequences, which then causes the stress and anxiety and everything because you're just like, well, I didn't think about the consequences for this and I didn't think about the consequences for that. And now I'm just like drowning in a sea of consequences. But if I wasn't drowning in the sea of consequences, none of that great stuff would have happened.
Exactly.
So it's like, you kinda...
Exactly. I very much have that. Like, it's always like a why the fuck not kind of attitude. Would you say that's true of you?
Yeah. I mean, life is short as well, and like the amount of stuff you can potentially do is infinite. So
risk it for a biscuit.
Yeah, like why in for a penny? Let's go. Like, yeah, absolutely. So how about relationships? Like, do you feel like ADHD has impacted your relationships in any way? Are you in a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, like I've been thinking about this a lot recently, and I definitely feel like ADHD has affected relationships, both friend relationships and romantic ones. Like in terms of like friendship, I've realized that most of my friends in both countries that I have friendship groups in are eccentric and creative and kind of wild, and there's too many words to describe the incredible people that I hang around with. But I've also kind of realized that it's very much your vibe attracts your tribe. A lot of us either are or either know it or unknowingly have neurodiversities that we don't, that have brought us together, but we maybe don't realize it yet.
I think that's very true. Like they say that we are like magnets for each other. But I think particularly in certain situations, often in expat communities or in different kinds of careers, then you are different.
Yeah.
I'm doing the inverted commas thing, but you are gonna fall into the same wavelengths.
Yeah. And if you're always looking for that specific type of stimulation, then you're going to look for like-minded people who are also looking for that kind of stimulation, and you stimulate each other in those ways.
Or people that will tolerate you. Tolerate your quirks and your weirdness. Like that's very important. I've managed to find some fantastic people that will tolerate how annoying I am.
Yeah. You're too muchness. Like, I mean, that's
exactly
the whole vibe of our tour.
When you find people where you're too much is just enough, it's great.
Yeah. Exactly that.
Amazing.
If you are finding this podcast helpful and you're in a position to do so, we are asking that you help us by signing up to our Patreon. In pledges starting at just £4 a month, it will give you access to our We Are ADHD AF community forum, in which we are both active members and we all support and learn from each other. You will also get access to behind-the-scenes content, exclusives, offers, blogs, vlogs, the works, everything in the kitchen sink. Your pledge will also mean that we will be able to continue to put out weekly episodes of ADHD as Females, the podcast.
Alternatively, if you would prefer just to make a donation, you can do so by visiting buymeacoffee.com/ADHD as Females. We know that our words are helping people in 164 countries and counting.
We really appreciate your support in supporting us to continue supporting the ADHD community.
If you are ADHD AF and you want more ADHD AF, join the We Are ADHD AF community. www.patreon.com/ADHD as Females.
And then like in terms of like romantic relationships, I've kind of started thinking about previous ones a bit more, and I think I mean I've been very lucky. Most of my relationships have been with really, really lovely, kind men, and they've been very tolerant of my various behaviors and things like that. I'm actually with someone who he did know that I was on this ADHD journey when we started dating, and we were at a party together, and occasionally I'll meet someone at a party that has ADHD and I'll start talking about it. And he joined in the conversation, start talking about how it affects, how it manifests differently in women and things like this. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, how do you know what's and it turns out that he was listening to your podcast before I'd even properly started getting into it, because he thought that it would help him get to know me better and put him in a better position to be a more understanding partner if he understood it more. And he went straight in for the ADHD AF one as well, because dating a woman, he wanted to make sure that he understood what was going on with me with that. And it meant so much. I didn't even really know what to say when I found out that he didn't even tell me that he was doing this. It was just
I just think it's the sweetest thing ever.
It really is. It's so thoughtful. It's so it's not just what's this about? Because he wants to understand you better, because he wants to be able to support you. That's just amazing.
You could learn about you through yourself and through talking to you, but he's actually went and sought information himself by looking
from
not
us
just
kids.
not just from looking at you, but from looking at ADHD as a separate entity, so that he can understand you better. And I think that's really sweet.
Yeah, he got a lot of points for that one for sure. But it was also, it's because there's so much I can talk about, but obviously I'm just at the start of my journey, and the amount of times that I've listened to your podcast and the adult ADHD one, and just I cry almost every single episode, because I'm like, wow, I'm actually hearing stories from people who are like me and who understand me. And for most of my life, I was living this in my own brain and just thinking that it was all messed up for me. And to be with someone that was already on that from the beginning was massive. So to any other partners that are listening to this podcast, to understand their partners better, points.
You're getting big brownie points. Yeah, really nice.
Oh, I love that. That's so lovely.
It's very sweet.
I'm just interested, obviously you've talked about overwhelm, but would you say that is the defining characteristic, or what would you say are the defining characteristics of how ADHD presents in you?
I think the thing is with the overwhelm is only once it hits a very, very, very extreme point like that. Overwhelm is something that I handle very well.
Yes.
So talking about the overwhelm as a thing that took me to the point of I need to speak to someone, it was because it was at such an extreme point that I was like shit is gonna go on fire in a minute, this needs to be dealt with. But day to day, the things I struggle with most with is definitely time blindness, procrastination, and a horrific memory. The main those are the three killers that generally affect me every single day and affect my work and relationships for sure.
So you're not so much the emotional RSD side, you're more...
I am. I'm kind of I try to deny that bit for sure. I think it's one of the reasons that I've been self-employed for 15 years. I can't take anyone else telling me what to do or telling me that my stuff's not good enough. So it's...
that's me exactly. It's I am literally unemployable.
I don't think I could ever go into a normal job. 15 years.
Anyone I've been employed by has been 3 months, 4 months. I think I've gone a year is my longest, but it's because I never had to actually speak to them and they just left me to get on with it. I can't deal with somebody else every day apart from Dawn. Obviously, you've trained, you're so talented at what you do, and you know what you have all of this creativity in you. Do you think that there is an element of it that pushed you to be self-employed, or do you think it's just how you have how training in fashion has made you want to put that out there? Or do you think
the only reason I'm doing this is because I think I can't do anything else. It's I've said this for years. It's I can't do anything else. This is the only thing I am good at, so I have to do this, and it has to work because there's nothing else that I'm good at.
When you think so little of yourself and you don't believe in yourself, and you find something that you are good at, you want to stay in that thing and you want to keep doing that thing because it's the one thing that you have that you can do.
It's really interesting. My husband, we've talked about this a few times, and he's pointed out that I don't really have any hobbies, because what's happened in my life is the things that I've found that are hobbies, I've dragged them into some kind of career, tried to make money out of them, because one, I feel I can't do anything else, and two, it's I'm just battling this constant kind of boredom and need for something else. So if I find something, it's like, well, I could just do this and that'll be all right, you know. So it's like, I love diving, but then had to become an instructor because it's like, I can do it, I can do this, I'll do this, you know.
Constantly looking for your thing, not being able to find your thing, dropping it, finding a new thing. Yeah.
But I don't have the hobby thing. I just have it in like job form.
Yeah, that's
fair. It's funny.
But you have your thing, you found your thing, you know that you're good at your thing.
And she's smashing it.
You're absolutely smashing your thing. So
sometimes.
Absolutely smashing it. And your creations are absolutely gorgeous. And I really love, I don't know if it was during the pandemic or before, when you started making more plus size stuff as well, because I think, isn't it wonderful to see representation now that people can wear whatever they want to wear, whereas at that awful toxic sort of early noughties time that we grew up in, it was like everyone had to be this thin, you know. Yeah,
and plus size people told not to wear prints, and actually they look fucking amazing in print.
Yeah, exactly.
Pom-poms, yes.
exactly that.
Love a print, especially a little animal print. Love it. So diving back into some of the questions, what do you feel that undiagnosed ADHD has cost you?
Like, again, it's kind of like swings and roundabouts. I'm quite a positive person, so a positive slant on everything, but I do feel like it has cost me success, money, and relationships. But it's also brought me those three things in other ways as well. It's like, I feel like my business would be a lot more successful if I had my shit together and I was more organized and I could stay on task and I remembered to order the things that we need to have in and all that kind of stuff, you know, which would lead to more money. I don't even have, my business doesn't even have a credit card. I don't have a credit card. Not because like we didn't have money to pay them off, but I just kept forgetting to do it. So it was too much of a risk. And relationships, you know, have definitely been damaged by my behavior or just being annoying, or, you know, people don't really like people that constantly interrupting conversations, or, you know,
we know
the various behaviors that someone with ADHD will bring to a conversation. Not everyone wants that. So yeah, some people will prefer to not have you in their life.
So but awareness making it appear to be something that it isn't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
especially when you don't know either, and like you have people calling you up for being rude in conversations and stuff, and you're like, well, I wasn't meaning to be rude, I was trying to relate, or so it's even harder when you don't know yourself. So
and I mean, like, something that we haven't touched on is like how much masking I definitely realized I've done my entire life. Like all throughout school I was called weird and annoying, like every single day. I mean, I was weird and annoying.
What's annoying now? You said annoying notes, and I don't think you're annoying at all. So what's annoying?
And not just like, but this is the thing, like as an adult, and as a female adult, I rein it in a lot, or I have reined it in a lot over the years in order to be able to fit into normal conversation. The amount of stuff I do not do and do not say that my brain is...
You hold yourself back,
Yeah.
I get it. Whereas before, it's excitement. When you're in a conversation and you're getting excitement and people are feeding you excitement, you want to blurt out the thing that you're thinking. It's not that you want to interrupt. You just want to say your thing that you're excited about. And that interruptions can come across as rude. And some people maybe see you as annoying for that reason. But it all comes from a good place, because you're just excited about the conversation, about what's going on, and you want to be part of that conversation.
And I think, and like Jacob, our last interview that we did, he was talking about how sometimes it can be seen that we are self-absorbed or selfish, and it's that whole idea of like relating. So if you told me a problem, in being helpful or in trying to connect with you, I might say, oh my God, me too, instead of just going, oh, poor you. But to us, that's how we're saying, I get it. Oh my God, I feel you. Like,
we understand. That's it. So you get that whole thing of like, people are just like, oh, well, she's been to Tenerife and they've been to 11 Reef. That kind of thing. People think they're trying to story talk when you're not. You're just trying to relate. And so it can be difficult, and I definitely get that in conversations.
11 Reef, where are we going?
But it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah. But then how do you feel like I think that like even on the podcast, that first bit, the recorded bit where we say the disclaimer and all of that, that's my big girl voice. That's me trying to speak properly and trying to take it down as low as I possibly can. And then it gets to about like halfway through the first episode and I'm just shrieking all the way through.
Excited.
But it's a funny one, isn't it? The masking.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily something you're aware of, right? It's not like you go, I'm going to put this mask on.
I feel like I was massively aware of it, especially in school.
Aware of maybe holding back, but not aware of why. And
right, yeah. I wasn't aware of why. I just wanted people to like me, and I wanted to, every time someone called me out for any of the various like annoying things I would do, I would just be like, okay, bring that back. And I spent a lot of my life kind of like toning it down, reining it in. And it wasn't until I got into my, I would say like late 20s, early 30s, where I actually, through fashion and getting involved in the festival world, started to find people that were more like me. And I started to feel more comfortable behaving the way that I behaved, that I wanted to behave, that felt good to me. And also in turn with that started to come like the kind of dressing up and like the freedom of expression. And I feel very, very lucky that I have ended up, vibe attracting my tribe, because it meant that I've found myself in a position where I can now, the mask is gone completely. Most masking, I mean, sometimes in certain situations you've got to rein it in a little bit, but in terms of like how I behave and how I dress, there are there's no holding back anymore. And I feel so incredibly comfortable in myself now that I'm in a position where I can just like be who I want to be. That I wish everyone would be able to do, because I know there are so many people with ADHD that have to do normal jobs and hang around with normal people that are probably still holding back so much of their personalities in order to try and fit in.
It's not so much about being liked when you think about it. It's really about acceptance. Yeah. And that's what it all boils down to. When you feel that you don't fit in, when you feel you're weird, then you're just looking for this acceptance. So that's where the people pleasing comes in. Yeah. And that's when the mask comes up, because you're like, right, well, I need to act a certain way to these people so that I will be accepted within, the realms of what is normal, inverted commas. Yeah. But that's it, just looking for acceptance. But in actual fact, what you needed all along was to accept yourself.
And then
absolutely.
And then attract the others. Yeah. Because you literally are queen of dopamine dressing. Like you literally are. Like I live for seeing your posts and like, she'll scan down a rail and everything is like fluoro deliciousness.
Yeah. So if any of our listeners are not following, then
they will be. Then they should be. Yeah. And feast your goddamn eyes, people.
Instagram handle is.
Oh, it's a mouthful. It's silly. L.O.M_fashion.
Yes,
there you go.
I'm
sure it won't be difficult to find.
And I'm sure you will already have seen her incredible creations, because they really are wonderful.
Queen of dopamine dressing.
You really, really are. And it's just so wonderful to see. And it's like, I really think there's just so much in it, because there's so much about owning yourself, dressing how you like, but also just knowing that there are no boundaries to that. I think is such an incredible thing. Like for quite a few years there, like in between a B3 stuff, when I was transitioning into trying to be a grown-up, I spent years wearing black, a good couple of years. I was just in different shades of black, like trying to find something to wear, because I never hang anything up. And I'm going by texture to find something, because every fucking thing was black. Because I hated my body so much. I was just trying to cover it up. I was trying to look more flattering or whatever, and it's just such bullshit. Like everybody's body is amazing and everyone should dress how they want to dress. And especially brightening up grey days with bright colours is just the best thing ever.
And it makes you feel so good. It just honestly it makes you feel so good to wear things that make you feel like yourself, like your personality is being expressed just by getting dressed. Feels really, really good. And like that's what I wanted to do in business. Like I wanted to create clothes that made people feel like they were able to express themselves on the outside, what they're feeling on the inside. I don't know why colours and pom-poms and fringes are reserved for children. Like why did we stop doing that when we grow up? Because we tried to fit into this crazy corporate world. It makes no sense when colourful clothes can bring you so much joy.
Yeah. I remember at school I had this coat that used to belong to my mum, and we called it my Macy Gray coat. It was like kind of, I don't know what the material would have been. It would have been like a wool coat. It was burgundy, and it had this big fur collar. It was faux fur. It wasn't real. And then at the bottom, it had fur around the bottom as well. And it was my Macy Gray coat, and I absolutely loved it. And I used to wear it. It used to belong to my mum. It was old as the hills. And I had this pair of like velvet, bright blue trousers with like dark blue swirls pattern on them, and there were flares. And I remember rocking up to school one day, and like I got a few comments and a few looks, and people would be like, "Oh my God, what's Dawn wearing today?" and stuff. I lost that. I lost that part of me because I was always made to feel because that's it. I didn't fit in, and I liked the fact that I didn't fit in to some extent. But at the same time, I was being made to feel that I needed to fit in. Yeah. And so there was that push and pull constantly. Yeah. And so I did dull myself down. And there have been periods of my life I can look at and I'd be like, oh, there's Dawn trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And then, oh, there's
Dawn dressing up as somebody else.
There's her coming out of her box a little bit. And I can actually pinpoint certain moments of my life. And it's interesting to see. So when my hair is a bright colour, like it is just now, that's like me in a place where it's just like, right, I'm back to being me. And I don't.
Does it feel better when you do that, when you feel free to express yourself through like, what you're wearing?
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah. 100%.
So, yeah.
So we've gone off piece, as per.
Completely gone off piece.
Positives, but we've heard those as in how you feel that it has led you to have all of these amazing experiences. Do you have any more? Are there any more positives you'd like to share, or do you think we've covered that?
I mean, I feel like I've probably mentioned a lot of them because I mean, obviously there's loads of negatives, but I feel like a lot of the downsides of ADHD have also had positive sides for me. And I think from here, for me personally, it's just about how I can make the balance be more balanced for me. Like,
can you tell us how when you find out?
Yeah, well, I'm only 6 months into my journey.
Oh God.
Yeah, don't know if I'll ever get there, but honestly, being more aware of it has helped a lot. I've started to become a lot more organized and just given myself a lot more breaks. I'm a lot kinder to myself, which has been super helpful for my own personal mental health. Yeah, so yeah, it swings and roundabouts because it's like you take on too much stuff, but then you get to live a crazy amazing life and meet amazing people and do incredible things, but like, oh, you might get burnt out.
I've lived in burnout for so many years and I joke about it. We were doing a million things at once with the podcast and somebody said, oh, be careful, you might burn out. And I'm like, I live in burnout, it's fine. And then I'm all of a sudden like, oh no, I'm actually not okay. Out of the blue.
The thing is, like, obviously we know it's about balance, but it's about figuring out how to balance things to suit you and what you're doing. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part. Like, of course, it's an easy answer, but how you get to that place is the hard part.
And it's work. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
Work. Is because we can go out there in all these different ways, but how do you rein it in and support yourself if you just want to do all of the things?
Yeah.
That's what's
I'm starting to learn prioritizing.
Yes.
Is very important because there's work and there's play and there's relationships and there's friendships and all that kind of thing, and sometimes work has to be prioritized and sometimes fun has to be prioritized and sometimes a relationship has to be prioritized, and it's about deciding which one rather than just trying to do them all and mash them all together because it doesn't work.
Wise words.
And it's remembering to put yourself in the priority list as well. And I think that's something that us ADHDers, most of us, I can't speak for them all, but from who I speak to, a lot of us struggle with putting ourselves there. It's like, we'll do things for other people.
Yeah. Oh, I need to do this, and this, and I must get this here and blah, blah, blah. And then actually don't exist in any of it.
And it's like you're only getting things done through urgency or through, external motivation rather than being able to motivate yourself to do things for yourself. It's like, I'll go and exercise with my friend because they want me to come exercise with them, but I won't exercise for me because I know it will be good for me and my mental well-being.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's like, like the self-care element is at the bottom of the priority list. Yeah.
Whereas actually for us to be able to do anything, to do any of those things, to work, to socialize, to do anything, we need to be okay.
Yeah.
So it really
Should
is
be number one.
about putting yourself as a priority, and that's not always the easiest thing to do, but it is super important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She says. So, is there anything else that you would like to add?
Actually, yeah, the one thing that I haven't spoken about that I think is super important and would be advice that I would give to anyone that's kind of started on a journey of maybe finding out if they have ADHD is to obviously listen to podcasts. I found that super helpful, but to talk to other people that either have it or have a partner that has it and they're like invested in looking in researching it more to understand them. Do not talk to people who do not have it.
Yeah.
It was honestly one of the biggest mistakes that I made.
Stupid fucking newspaper articles and the like.
Yeah.
Filled their brain full of crap. Yeah.
Because for me, for years, it was I would mention to people that didn't have it, didn't know anything about it, that I thought I had it, and they'd be like, "Don't be silly, you don't have it. Like you run your own business, you do all these things, you don't have it." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're probably right. You know everything about it
because you know."
That's it.
You. But I've honestly found speaking to people that either have it or have there's two women in particular that I met this summer whose partners have it. And so they looked into it a lot. And when I told both of them, but now whenever I'm at a party or anything and someone mentions ADHD, I'm like, "Do you have ADHD? I've just found out that I've got ADHD." Like, in this like bubble, and it's just such an incredible feeling to be talking to someone, especially in real life, that understands your brain and how it works and asks you questions, and you know that they understand what you're going through. Because especially, at 37 years old, I went through a lot of life thinking that it was just my brain and I was by myself. And having conversations with people about it that have it or understand it has been hugely validating and massively reassuring for me. And so I would recommend anyone that's on the early journey of it, don't talk to anyone that doesn't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great piece of advice. We're obviously really fortunate that we found each other whilst we were going through that, because look where we are with it now. I mean, that's just incredible. But like we speak about this a lot, is just like lean into the community.
It's the number one thing to do, because the point being, the point here is that although you are not diagnosed, you have ADHD. You know that you have ADHD. You know how it presents in you. You know how it's affected your life. And in speaking to people who also know, in finding out from actual reputable resources and lived experience, you can support yourself in that. You don't have a diagnosis as such. You're not on treatment, but in this period of time, since you have identified that, your life has improved greatly, right? You've said you're giving yourself grace. You have the compassion for yourself. You have the understanding. It's self-diagnosis is 100% valid. Yeah. And anybody who says it isn't can absolutely fuck right off, basically. Yeah. It's in a system that is so broken, where people are waiting literal years. In some places it can be up to 6 years. Yeah. And then more on top for titration. We're talking about a decade. And most people that get to that point are at crisis point. Do you know what I mean? And lives have already been ruined up to that point. People have lost, relationships, partners, families, all these things that can happen. Their health, the impact it can have on your physical health, never mind your mental health. Yeah. It is really essential that people are not shamed out of finding the tools that they need to support themselves in a community of people who understand the things that they're going through in a world that up until that point has not. Makes sense.
Yeah, and it's not like when you get diagnosed by a doctor, it's not like something magic happens. It's just like, okay, you officially have it. I bless you. There you go. You've got ADHD.
So you have a blessing child. Yeah,
exactly. It's like it's always been there. It's just now you're aware of it. So start educating yourself on it and speaking to people that have it too. And like you said, find the communities to share your story with, because it does really help.
Yeah,
it really does.
Absolutely.
And we can only hope, with more and more people talking about it, the debate in Parliament recently, it might not be that it's all of a sudden fixed, but at least we're hearing people talk about it. And that means we are on the path to change. However long that path is going to take, things are going to get better now, she says. Absolutely. But they will, because even with awareness, that's just how it works. And it's really good. And honestly, so happy to hear that you don't have that much longer to wait.
Oh, you'll have a diagnosis very soon.
Very soon, and you have to come back and tell us all about it.
And then on a final note, the ultimate shame eradicator, what is the most ADHD thing you have done this week?
I know this is the question you ask, and when it was happening, I was like, lol, I should probably mention this one when they asked that question, but I didn't realize what was going to happen after what had happened. Basically, it's the reason I'm being interviewed a few days later than was scheduled.
You can tell us both of the things.
I was supposed to move back to Berlin on Valentine's Day, and I had to move out of my apartment in Brighton, pack it all up, tidy it up, move all of the things from my Brighton apartment into my studio, and unpack them in there, whilst also wrapping up all of my work and doing a fitting with a customer. And then I'd also been selected to make a red carpet outfit for someone to wear last week, and I thought that I could do all of that in 3 days because I can. And the thing is, do you know what? I did it all. I moved my apartment on six. Also, I moved apartment by bus. By the way, I can't drive. So I moved my suitcases and plants on the bus every day to the studio, and then put the things in there and then repack to the studio, whilst also doing like a full day's work with my team. And then in the evenings going back and like packing and tidying my apartment, whilst then also making this outfit and doing several fittings for someone for a pair of trousers. I did actually manage to do it all. However, I got really, really fucking sick after that. I activated like strep throat and ended up with tonsillitis from absolute exhaustion. Basically in bed for a week, and I was awake for about 4 to 6 hours a day, which is usually the amount of sleep I get. And it was, I was out of it for a week. So I actually only moved back to Berlin the day before yesterday because I couldn't get the plane. I'd made myself that sick. So bless. And I don't normally get burnout because I can do all of the things.
But at some point your body is just going to go, nope.
And just because you can do all of the things doesn't mean you should.
It's true, but you know what? There is absolutely no way that I will learn from this. I know that I will do this again.
Exactly that.
But I am going to take a holiday. I'm going to take my first holiday in 4 years. In a few weeks, that money that I didn't spend on going private, I'm going to go to the Philippines for 3 weeks. I'm not going to bring my laptop, which is going to really give me anxiety, but I am going to bring my iPad. I'm allowing myself 1 day of work a week.
No, that's not a holiday, but no, it wouldn't be so anxious.
He's off a week.
You need to give yourself some leeway.
That's amazing. Have the best time. I'm so glad that you're better.
Thank you.
And
last day of antibiotics tomorrow. Woo!
Yay. And did you remember to take them all?
I did. I actually did. I basically had to sellotape them to me to remember to do that, but yeah.
Well done. Well, glad you're feeling better, and enjoy this amazing holiday that you're going to have.
It's well deserved. Thank you so much for coming on, and please send your amazing boyfriend our love.
Well, he'll probably listen to the podcast before I do, so
Hi.
Thank you ever so much, Louise, and do come back. We wish you all the best with your diagnosis process. We hope it's swift and easy, and whatever treatment plan you pick works really well for you.
Please keep us updated.
Thank you. It's been really great to talk to you guys, and thank you for all the awesome work. You're helping so many people.
Thank you so
really
much.
Kind. All right, lovely. And I will see you in a festival field soon, no doubt.
Absolutely.
See you later.
All right. Bye.
How wonderful is Louise?
So lovely. Really nice speaking to her. Was it weird for you, like catching up with her?
No, it was lovely. It was so lovely to speak to her. I was really, really chuffed. And it was, just so nice how it sort of happened. I just saw her, she did a post about it on her personal page, and I'd liked it. And then somehow for her, the penny dropped, and she was like, oh my God, it's you. I listened to the podcast, but I didn't know that it was you.
That's so random. It's all serendipity at its best.
And I just love the fact that her boyfriend was listening to it.
I think that's really sweet.
And understand.
And I think that if there's anybody listening to this that is doing so for the sole purpose of trying to understand their partner better, then I salute you. We salute you.
Yeah, big love for that. And also, a lot of people do ask us, how do they tell people? How do they make people understand? And that really is one of our many aims with the podcast. So you know, just shove this in their ears, basically.
Yeah.
You know, that's how to get them to understand how it feels for you, the people that are perhaps questioning your behavior or offended by things or not understanding things from your perspective, like to hear that what you do is really common and we do it too, is, you know, helpful. And that's also why we get so many different guests on and we try and explore different topics, is because it's all about awareness. So it's validation, but it's also awareness. So do put this to people that you want to explain it to if you feel like you're struggling to find the word yourself. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so love that. Thank you so much, Louise. You're an absolute ledge.
Total ledge.
So, Dawn, what is the most ADHD thing you've done this week?
The most ADHD thing? Probably double dunting my meds, almost.
Oh, my God.
So I'm on 50 milligrams of L.O.M at the moment.
Yep.
And I nearly took 100.
Oh, my God.
Like, I put it in my mouth.
Oh, my God. And how do you remember?
What it was is I was going through the MediSafe app and I had the pills in the bottle and I was checking how many I had left to figure out when I needed to call the doctor to order more.
Yes.
So I'd taken, like, obviously not being present.
Yes.
I'd taken my meds for the day because I had a smoothie sat beside me. And for some reason, after I put them all back in the bottle, I completely forgot that I'd just taken it.
Yeah.
Like, completely forgot. So picked one up again, popped it into my mouth, and as soon as I went to grab my smoothie to swallow it, I'm like, this feels really familiar.
Oh, my God.
So I just spat it out back onto my hand and then went back into my app, counted the pills again to see how many I had left, realised, no, if I take another one, that's not right.
Oh, God.
And stopped myself, thankfully, before I took that drink.
For that.
I would have been
Off
absolutely
your tits.
that would not have been good
Very
times.
dangerous. 100 milligrams, bloody hell. Thank God you realised.
So definitely an ADHD moment, but thank Christ for that app, because...
And if they want to pay us, they can.
Yes. Actually, I found some affiliate market things, so we definitely need to look into that. But the app really helps because you put in how many pills you have, and if you do forget, you can go. You can be like, right, okay, this is how many pills I should have.
That's really good.
It's very handy, very handy. So I've got one soggy pill kicking about somewhere that's been like...
Well, better that than to have double dosed, for sure.
Absolutely. What about you? What's your most ADHD thing?
So when I was coming round, and I said I'd be round at 3, I basically, I'm not going to lie, we got Burger King, and I had a drink left over, and I wanted to bring my drink with me, but I needed to pop in the house. So I popped in the house, came back out again, and in the space of literally 2 seconds and about 5 paces, I lost the drink.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, it's nearly time to go round, but actually I do actually really want that drink. And more the point that's just ridiculous. Like, I know that it's really common. I know that it's what we do, but like, come on. How the hell do I lose a drink in literally 2 seconds? I walked in the house to pick up the key. Where the hell is the drink? So I go in, and I tear about this tiny space, like within the doorway that it could possibly be. And it's nowhere. And I'm like, okay, never mind. It's fine. I shut the door and I stand there. And I'm so annoyed that I'm like, no, I'm not having it actually. I'm going to go back into the house. I go back into the house, look around, basically tear my hair out and swear a lot. Come back out of the house, just like, oh, for fuck's sake, I'll just fucking leave it there. Never mind. Not thirsty anyway. Shut the door, turn around. And I just left it on the windowsill before I walked into the house.
But it's the same with the pill. It's like you do something, but you're not present when you do that thing. So because you're not present, it's gone from memory.
Gone. Yeah.
Completely gone.
Yeah. But thank God I found my drink because I was really angry.
You really wanted your Coca-Cola.
half a pint of Diet Coke. I was ready to kill somebody over it. Our listener most ADHD thing is a good one.
I keep forgetting it's Mother's Day on Sunday. I had a moment of panic that I hadn't bought my mum a card, but then I remembered she died 13 years ago and I felt like a tit. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't. But in my defence, my dad is no longer here.
Yes.
And I do make light out of that situation as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And I see how others, like,
It's a very well used coping mechanism. That whole "if you don't laugh, you'd cry" kind of
Exactly.
thing. Yeah.
And I have to laugh because she's put another comment afterwards saying, also, just to bring a bit of light to the seemingly depressing moment, when I wrote the post, it autocorrected a moment of panic to a moment of penis, which is a whole different scenario. Oh, we love it. Keep them coming in.
Yeah. Well, actually, speaking of follower input, I've got an amazing rabbit hole this week.
Yeah.
From which relates completely to Louise's episode. ADHD itself has been my rabbit hole the past couple of weeks, as I've only just had the light bulb moment, realising it explains my whole life and I'm researching everything. And that is a rabbit hole we all know very, very well.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, just to really say, self-diagnosis is valid.
Absolutely.
It has to be valid. The system is broken, and the hurdles we have to leap over to be able to get a diagnosis, the wait times, everything else, we need to be able to support ourselves in the interim.
Absolutely.
Or for people that are up against clinicians who disbelieve it or don't have the training to spot the signs, etc. Then if you relate to the characteristics, to the traits, to the struggles, then self-diagnosis is absolutely valid. You can start treating yourself as if you have it, speaking to people that do, leaning into the community and figuring out how ADHD presents in you in order to support yourself better and to have a better quality of life whilst you cannot access treatment.
Yeah.
So,
and even if it turns out down the line that you found out you didn't have ADHD, there's no harm putting these things into place to help yourself.
Exactly.
So it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, 100%. But what's yours of this week? What's your rabbit hole?
Mine's a bit morbid.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I watched...
Trigger warning?
Probably a trigger warning. This is about death.
Again? Someone's talking about death again.
I can't help but, yeah. This is me. When I talk about death, I laugh because it's awkward. Anyway, I watched a couple of documentaries this weekend. One of them was Finding Michael, which is about Spencer Matthews' brother who died on Everest.
Right.
And they go and try and retrieve his body. So obviously I watched the documentary. It's really sad and lots of feels, especially like premenstrual feels as well.
Gosh.
Like, yeah. In the documentary, when they're looking for his body, they come across several bodies when they're searching.
Gosh.
And they're just left there. To recover a body, it's a mission.
Yeah.
And so I think I read that there's like over 200 bodies on Everest.
Holy shit.
People walk past them and they can't do anything about it.
So your rabbit hole was morbid curiosity of how many dead people are on top of Everest.
Yeah, I started reading about them. I've read about like the oldest body that's up there and like how long they've been left there, the ages of people. I just become obsessed with all the dead bodies on Everest, and it's a little bit of a morbid like fascination.
It's obscure, I'll give you
but
that.
it's sad. Like it's really sad, and
it's just an interesting thing to be fascinated and drawn into.
But this is the weird subjects that I get pulled into, and that was my rabbit hole this week.
Hole. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So rest in peace to all the people on Everest.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
What about you? Was yours less morbid than mine?
Mine is slightly, just a tad less morbid. In that now I've obviously come away from holiday, I have to think of something else to be really, really excited about.
Yeah.
And it's my 40th in May, and I'm going to have a little boat party in Ibiza. I'm very excited about it. And now I've fallen down a massive rabbit hole of body jewellery, body chain jewellery.
Nice.
Because I don't really love wearing swimwear, but I need to be in swimwear. But it's also my birthday, my 40th birthday, so I need to look like the belle of the ball.
Of course.
And I figured out that the best way to do that is to just basically wear swimwear, but absolutely cover my body in all sorts of blinging chains on top. Because also then I could fall off the boat and head out dressed as I am.
Yeah.
Because it's Ibiza and you don't have to wear that many clothes. So hours and hours and hours of my life have gone into body jewellery. Like everything from like tops that are like bikini tops to full dresses to like things that look like, I don't know, dancer costumes, like literally absolutely everything. And I'm telling you, it is only the beginning of this journey. Like I am deep into this rabbit hole and I will not surface for some time.
But you're going to look fantastic
Yes,
for your 40th.
I'll have every chain known to me. I'll be like Mr. T or something. It won't get me on the boat. I'll sink the whole thing because my body's just covered in chains.
Well, just make sure that you don't drown.
Take the chains off before jumping in the water.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Goes for a little paddle and just goes straight to the bottom.
Death again, Dawn. Death again.
I can't help myself. Now I'm going to be finding out how many bodies there are at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh God.
Oh, don't.
Don't tempt yourself.
Morbid curiosity.
But
anyway,
in all seriousness, we have had such an amazing week, haven't we?
Yeah.
Since I've come back, we've had 3 really mega exciting things happen. So we're getting gifted.
Yeah.
Something very, very
we're
exciting.
getting gifted something very exciting.
We've been invited to collaborate on an incredible creative project.
We have indeed.
With a very reputable company.
Yes.
And we sold out London.
We did sell out London. Wild.
It's so exciting. And the problem is, it's amazing. But the ridiculous thing about it is we have some incredible speakers at London.
Yeah.
And because we've had so much work on to get the first show done, and because we have ADHD, so, disorganisation and admin and all the rest of it, with many plates spinning, we didn't even get a chance to say who's speaking at London.
Yeah, we've not announced. We've not announced any of our speakers across the events yet.
No.
So watch this space because we will announce them
this week. I'm on it, confirming all the speakers and trying to get that Brighton venue once and for all. So hopefully we'll get that done.
Yeah.
And if we can't get a venue the size we want it, we've decided we're just going to go for a smaller one because it's better something than nothing.
Exactly.
So we will get to Brighton, even if it ends up just being a drink in the pub.
Yeah. We will be there. We will be there, 100%.
Yeah, 100%. So, should we call it a day?
Let's call it a day. Crack on because
we're just talking nonsense now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, we would love you to buy us a coffee or join our community so you can connect with like-minded individuals. Literally, no diagnosis necessary. We can all support each other, and we would love you to come and see us in real life at our tour. So please do that. You can also leave a review on Apple or Spotify, and we're just super grateful. We're also about to hit a really enormous milestone.
we are.
Yeah, but we'll come back to that next week, okay?
Yeah, let's go.
Bye.
Bye.
ADHD as females, ADHD AF, ADHD as females, the podcast.